Everybody, Scout Crafter here again. Mishmash Monday. Before we get started, a couple people been asking about the stump grinding. Let me go show you what we got, what happened, and what's left. Here's one of the stumps you could see here. It's a this one here could have been a real problem, right? Another one, and these are big stumps. And I got the stump guy coming this week sometime. He's waiting for a couple dry days. This was the stump for the oak. Again, huge. And I have one wild cherry tree that I cut down a while ago. So the 4 stumps I just showed you is going to cost $800 to remove. Now, as you know, a stump grinding machine is a big piece of equipment, and you can rent them at the local rental center for a couple $100 for the day, but they're usually smaller duty, and for stumps like that, it's an all-day job, so sometimes you have to bite the bullet and have it done. So, but I'll be looking forward to that, and I'll film it when it's done so you can see what it looks like. But we got a big mosh today. One thing I must say is that all the animals are present and accounted for. I was a little worried about that, you know, after the tree falling. And my raccoons are fine. I got 2 raccoons and a possum. They're excuse me, they're all good and accounted for. All my stray cats, they're all back and happy, you know. And even the birds have come back. Even the birds, they were, for a day, they weren't. Now, the only ones I haven't seen yet so far are the squirrels, but that's because they go back between me and 2 houses down, a neighbor. So I'm going to put out some peanuts, bring them back, and everything should be good. So we're good to go there. For today, we got a lot going on. We're going to try and get a little mega mosh going. And the first thing we're going to start with is a good friend of the show. You remember him from last week, Anthony Ronci. He sent a screwdriver, a couple screws. Let me show you. Now, Anthony said, he wrote me an email, said, I got a real challenge of a screwdriver for you. And when I opened the package, I pulled this and I said, this ain't much of a challenge. I was just kidding. He was just kidding. This is a Stanley sent along, but check this out. We all know what this is here. H.D. Smith. You can see the S here. 660. And these are always nice screwdrivers, right? But this one is probably one of the... This thing is in some horrible... Look at that. Right? Look at that. Horrible... Look at this here. Look at that. Now... he even was joking. He goes, man, this thing is... Talk about a challenge. And this is a challenge. So... What do you think? It's bent too. We'd have to take it to the dake, but this is what we like to do here, right? Do you think we can do? What can we do with this? The scales. I hate making scales for these things. You know, everybody, if you've ever done scales on these, you know what a pain in the neck they always are to get these angles, because these angles, this angle is different from this angle, and this side is different from this side. So you can't even make like 2 up, and they're always a pain, but you know, that's what we do here. So what do you say? Let's get this started. First thing, let's pop the scales off, give it a wire brush, and come back. Okay, here we are at our post wire brush evaluation. And you can see here the scales. We just, in order to get the scales off, what we do, there's one side that's a little thicker than the other, and you look for the thinner side, which was here. And you punch it out with a pin punch, and that's what I did. I punched out and the scales came off. One of them is cracked, as you could see. You could glue this, and you know, you could possibly reuse these, but I'm not crazy about wood and steel. And let's take a look at what we have here now. Extensive wire brushing. And especially here, this is very difficult to get in here. You have to do like 3 different types of wire brush and then the Dremel and everything. So, but you can see here, it doesn't look bad, right? You say, hey, it's coming along nicely. And then you go, gee, ay. The tip looks good. So, what we're going to do, this is going to be a very fine screwdriver, I guess, when we're done. I know what you're saying. You're saying, weigh the thing. See how much metal you take off. But we're really just taking it off here. So let's go to the dake and see if we snap this thing. We might be making a stubby screwdriver. Let's go to the dake. Okay, here we are, everybody's favorite, the dake. And let me show you the setup here. We put on the stepped nose cone. And we have a couple steel plates there. Let me show you how we're going to do this. Okay, now you can see the bend is right here, okay? This is the bend here. I'm going to turn it so you can see. Now what we want to do is put that bend right under the tip here, and we'll have a small piece of wood here just so it don't slip out, and just like that. And we'll press it down, and I'll lower you a little bit so you can see what it looks like. Okay, we have it pressed here. See? Now we got to hold it so that it don't spin out. The high point, you want the high point. We'll usually hold it like this, and here, you can see how easy this bends, right? Wow, look at that. Now we got to go a little bit past it, right? Bring it up. We'll get some spring back, and then check it out. How's that look? Got to look down the edge here. You can see we still got a little bend. We'll try it again. Okay, now we put a little thicker wood on the other side here, where underneath, and we'll try it right about there. Again, this is, you just do a little bit here and there, and it bends very easily because of it is a screwdriver shaft. Okay, let's take a look at what that looks like there. Okay, again, you can see here, but it's looking very good. Okay, and we're pretty happy with how straight that is, as you know, as comparison. It was funny when Anthony wrote it, he said, you know, this one's in a little rough shape, LOL. This thing here, this is really rough, right? I mean, because here's, you know, I know what you say, if you had a, you know, welder, you could maybe touch a couple beads, but then you're still going to see some, but look at that. Look at that, huh? I don't know. Maybe it might be good to make into a I don't know. That's pretty bad, right? That's about, but we've done worse here, believe it or not. I want to hit the angle grinder. Let's take some metal off. Okay, here's after the grinder. Okay, you can see we got a little dips, a little wavy. Woo! Looking a little crazy there. Tip, see the tip there? You know, I can't take pits, you know, even that pit's bugging me. So we're going to work it down. We're going to work it down. Then we're going to smooth and try and taper this out. So that was a heavy chunk to have to take out, but the back don't look too bad, right? Now, before we go to the belt sander, I want to clean up the edge here. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a drum sander here like this, mount it in the drill press, and you can see that curve like that. And we're just going to run it back and forth here just to brighten up all the letters and brighten up all here and get that. And then we'll hit the belt sander. Now, I wish there was an easy way to do these scales, because I'm telling you, anybody that's ever done them, we dread them because they're cut at such, I don't know how they did them at the factory. Here's what I do. I cut a basic oval shape that'll fit into the scale pocket, right? Now, this one here has an edge. They're all cut at an angle different. And remember I was telling you, each angle, this angle is more shallow than this angle there is more steep. So what I do is I cut this here, and I cut two pieces of wood that are similar to the scale. You see here? This is similar to the scale as far as height. And then I'm going to cut out that oval, and then we're going to try and fit it in here and then carve it down. It's a lot of hand fitting. It's a real pain. I'd much rather do a totally different wrench than have to do scales on these, but let's get to it. Okay, I took the two scale blanks, and you can see I cut an angle up here, you know, around here. And now this will lay in here. Now you can see it's a little bit proud. That's the way you want it. And then just gently, as you with the belt sander, you just take a little bit more and more off until this seats in there, and then it gets nice and flat. And you want this to be on top. I'll show you. Okay, we have one fitted in there pretty good. You see that there? There's no gaps. You see no light around it. And that's the way you want. And we're going to do the other side the same way. We're going to put pins in. And then we're going to do the final sanding after we glue it. We're going to epoxy it and clamp it. And but to see, there's no gaps all the way around. And believe it or not, this takes a lot of fitting, a little bit of sanding. And, you know, hopefully it'll come out pretty decent. But that's one side. Now, when you have decent fitting scales, believe it or not, there's no glue on here. Nothing. Just the pressure the fit of the scale. You can see that's a good fitting scale when it fits in there, and you don't need glue and it won't come off. So now we just got to contour it, but we're going to put some pins in first, and then we'll contour. These are 2 pins, and what we're going to do is we're going to take off one scale. Okay, we're going to drill it through here, and then we're going to remove and put the other scale back on and drill through here. So this way the holes line up, and we drilled a hole just to check. This is a press fit on these pins, and then we'll press them in with the glue and clamp it up. Okay, since it is a mosh and today is Monday, we do have other subjects to cover today while the glue is drying on those scales. Last week we covered an OEM screwdriver I did a review on. Let me talk about some questions that surrounded one of those tips. Okay, here is the screwdriver that we were talking about. Look at that beautiful color. A couple people jumped on it. They were very happy with it, and I'm glad. Again, I don't get anything or anything. I just like to pass on something when come on, how can you resist that green, right? Anyway, this was the tip that a lot of people we had some comments on, okay? This was a Schrader removal tip, Schrader core removal tip. And for those of you that aren't familiar with this, I just want to go through it real quick. This is an air valve for a tire. This is happened to be a motorcycle tire, but in there is called a Schrader valve. It was invented by August Schrader. August Schrader started this company in 1844. 1891, he invented this valve, and in 1893, he got the U.S. patent for it. Now, it's an amazing invention when you think about that. It's almost unchanged in 100 years, over 100 years. And, we take this for granted here. But a lot of us, if you have to let air out of the tire, you'll push this needle down, and wait or whatever. But to remove the valve, that's what this tool is for. You put it into here, into your screwdriver. And if you look here, and I'll show you when I take it out, you press it in here just like this, and you just turn it. And it should be no problem whatsoever here. And you can see it's backing out. It is a standard thread, right-hand thread. And you can see here, when it comes out, this here is the business end of it. And this is the Schrader valve. Now, what the other side was for, that's where the questions came from. They're saying, what is this side for? This side here, if the core does get messed up, sometimes because the Schrader valve is subject to a lot of wear and tear and whatnot, if this should break off, this little pin here, see this pin or this thing, this here can go in and hopefully try and remove the Schrader valve core. Here, it is not made to, a lot of people under the impression it's made to rethread this. It's not. This is a fine thread here, and this is an easy out. Now, you don't have to use this for the Schrader. You can use this easy out for a lot of different things. It is a left-handed thread, which means that as I turn it left, instead of loosening up, it actually tightens. So if you have something, a piece of tubing or anything that's caught in something that's threaded in, if you drill a little hole and push this in and turn it, it'll lock itself in and screw it out. And let me show you how that'll work. Okay, in this hole here, I have a hex head screw that I intentionally stripped out with a drill so that I can demonstrate this, because there's no lengths I will not go through for the channel. Now we have our easy out bit attached to here, okay? I'm going to insert it into the hole, and it will grab, and when it does, it'll start turning the screw out, as you can see. See here? That's beautiful, huh? How that works. And when it gets real tight, the further you push, obviously, and then you release it by turning it clockwise. And you can see here what we did. So you see how that works. Now this is because this is a left-handed thread, and as the left-handed thread starts to grab, it starts to spin out. You can see how that works. It grabs. And the more you push it in here, the better it grabs. And that's why it's got those two little cutouts here. You see here? So it is a very good tool. You could use it for a lot of things, but that's what that's made for. Okay, here we are, day 2. We had this set in the vise, clamped down for 24 hours, and it is solid. Now what we have to do is take it to the belt sander. We want to use a coarse belt and take it down to a form. And like I said, it's solid now. It's not going anywhere. The pins are all epoxied in. And let's get to it. Nice coarse belt. Now you know my favorite part. Remember what Anthony's screwdriver looked like before we started. And then we finished up, almost finished. We came up with this and it looks great. You know, this is just natural wood and natural pins. But then I said, well, you know, we did the ones with the stain on it. We did ones like that. What can we do that's a little bit different? Okay, now before you see the final product, I want you to sit back and relax and take a deep breath, exhale, and remember, we're always trying to push the envelope here to get to something new and see what we can do. So keep that in mind, and let me show you what we came up with. And here it is. And I know some of you right now are having a rough time dealing with this. But I have to tell you, I just felt like doing something a little bit different with this one because it was so far gone. And let's take a look at what we have here. First of all, we have the handle we did in marbleized. You know what marbleized? And that is so that you could still see the grain. And, you know, you either love this or you hate it. You know, it's one of those things. I didn't do any black in the back here like I did before because that gray kind of stands out. But I did do a little Scout Crafter red here. As far as the tip goes, you know, we reprofiled the tip. Came out very nicely. Look at the top here. Over here, let's see. You can see here you can't tell that it was all pit and everything, right? I think it came out fabulous. You can't tell about the shape of it, the bends or anything. And just take a second, see what you think, because it definitely is something different. Feels really nice in the hand. You know, these screwdrivers are just beautiful, aren't they? And I didn't polish the back as of yet because I have to let this dry for a couple days. It's enamel, and I clear coated. What I did was I used my 44-year-old Oxspar. I bought this one. It's 15 years old. I used that, wiped it on, kept getting it until you get the right swirl. You got to thin out a little bit so it absorbs into the grain. And then I covered it with shellac, and then after that I clear coated it so that you have that look. So there it is. First time ever we have that marbleized green. Something different, something unusual. Let me know what you think. It's kind of a weird one, right? Okay, in closing, we got a big project done in a couple days. Want to thank Anthony Ronci very much for sending that in. A great challenge for the show. And it really was a bit of a challenge there today, but we pulled it off, I think. And thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great day. Take care now. Bye-bye.